Hello, Lake County. This is Dick Barr, host of Unlocking Lake County, here coming live in our studios from beautiful downtown Round Lake Beach. This week, we've got a super special guest in our studios. His name is Brian Brubaker. He's a current Round Lake trustee, and he's running for mayor. Say hi, Brian.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody.
I want to thank you for coming in.
Appreciate the invite. Thank you very much.
To everyone who's wondering why I didn't introduce Christin and Sly, well, Sly is off this week. He's enjoying some of his spring break with his family. But Christin will be in the studio shortly. She's running from an appointment, coming in a little bit hot. So we're going to have just going to be you and me for a little bit. Brian, you okay with that?
We'll try to hold down the fort.
Don't get too excited. Okay, so... We are notorious for our technical difficulties, but spent a lot of time trying to work this out, and I think I've got it solved. For everyone who likes watching us on Twitch, I think I've got it solved so we can send audio to the Twitch signal as well as our Facebook signal as well as to the radio, but I've got no way to test it right now. So if you're watching on the live stream, do me a favor and say if you can hear me, if there's an echo, because our whole entire production crew was on vacation this week. It sounds like the sound is coming through. I'm just testing on my phone here, and yep. Okay, and I just can't tell if there's an echo or not. So if you're watching, go ahead and give us a shout out. Let us know if you can hear the sound. Russ, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, thanks. Well, my name is Brian Brubaker. I'm running for mayor. I'm a current sitting trustee for the Village of Round Lake. Back in 2004 through 2009, I had a stint for 4 years under the Genties administration for Round Lake. And I think I don't want to be known as a politician, right?
We all say that.
Yeah, you know, we moved here about 30 years ago when my first son was born. The intent was we were going to build a little equity in our home and then move back down to Arlington Heights where we could afford to live. Well, that never happened. 30 years now we planted our roots. We're involved in the local governments, the PTOs, the school districts. we just love it here. Some of our best friends now, lifetime friends, have been here. So we just love it. It's one of those things. So I ran the Round Lake Spartans for almost 15 years. Had to step away for some health issues.
And what are the Spartans for people listening?
They're the K through 8 youth football and cheer program for Round Lake. They're the feeder programs for the Round Lake High School. We're part of the TCYFL, the the Chicagoland Youth Football League, which is the biggest, I think, the plug for the TCYFL, biggest independent football league in the nation, I think, or were. It's crazy how many people they have. And
oh, wow.
So we were part of the JFL&I before that, and then we turned into the TCYFL. And so I've coached pretty much everyone's kid that's under the age of 35, I think. Now they're having kids. They're getting married and having their own kids. So
it's funny you say that, because it seems like right now you say 35 and they're having their own kids. That age has increased quite a bit. You know, even when I was a kid, it was starting to go up from, my parents, they were from 20 to 25, they were having kids. Well, 18 to 25, they were having kids.
Yeah, right.
And then, when it was me, it was kind of like 25 to 30 having kids. And we're seeing 30s to 40s before kids are having their first set of kids.
It does seem like a trend, and I'm not sure why. Maybe it's, the economy and how hard it is for kids to get out now.
Yeah.
I've got 3 kids. They're all under 30. One's just about 30. The youngest is 22. The 22-year-old actually moved out, bought his own place out of the 3.
At 22?
Yeah, at 22. Yeah, and he's got a fortune. He's got a good job, and he's very cheap, so he's able to put his little shekels away. The 29-year-old's still at home, but he's finishing off school and paying off his school loans. And maybe that's what's happening, is we're saddling these kids with school loans. I mean, we sat in those schools, and we're fortunate that we have good jobs and good health care in my household. But we sat in those FAFSA meetings 10, 15 years ago, and the government was real good about coming in and saying that we're going to give you these loans. It's going to be affordable. We want everybody to go to college.
Yeah.
But really what they didn't tell you was, or make some of the parents understand, is that it is a loan, and you're going to be saddled with it for 20 or 30 years. I mean, I know some friends that are my age that are still paying off their school loans. I mean, 50-some years old, and you still have school loans. That's horrible. Like, that saddles you financially for the rest of your life, it seems like.
And they don't also give them the advice that, maybe you should consider a career that can afford to pay off those loans. Like underwater sneaker repair. You're not a lot of people making money in that field.
Yeah.
I don't think that's in at least the Ivy League schools.
Yeah, I see that. I have a friend of mine whose wife is a librarian, and she got her master's in library sciences, and that's a noble job, but the income potential there is pretty low until you get to, say, like a presidential library position or something. But to be at a community library, I don't even know what they would make, but it doesn't justify the expense of the education, unless you were lucky enough to get grants or have it free. So it's tough, and we also, I think, starting even when I was in high school, way back when, the late 80s, they would come in and say, you have to go to college. The trades aren't the place to go. You have to go to college, or you're going to be obsolete. You're never going to make enough money to make a living, this and that. And now what we're at is we're hurting for tradespeople, right? Yep. And my company, we deal with the International Local Pipe Fitters Union. In Chicago, the 597, another plug, 597 local pipe fitter guys. But, those guys make some really good money if we can keep them busy, and there's nothing wrong. It's honest work and great pay, and that goes for any trade for that matter. So I'm a big proponent of that. I tell kids coming out of college, a lot of parents would talk to me and what do I do? I said, well, you've got military, college, trade, or you just get into the workforce. If you're not doing one of those 4 things at 18 years old, you're really doing yourself a disservice, right? Yeah. You don't want to become 30 years old and have a part-time job somewhere trying to figure out what you want to do in life. You still got to be walking forward and making those steps towards a career. It may not be your career of choice at the end of your life type of thing, but you need to do that stuff. And I think sometimes the trades in the military is the way to go for some of these guys.
Absolutely. And we had the same experience growing up where the guidance counselors and the teachers, they were already kind of fractionalizing the kids and saying, okay, well, you're smart, you're going to college, you're dumb, you're going to trade school or the military. It was literally, that was how it felt.
Yeah.
New York was a region state. I know Illinois has never been a region state, but it's a special level of testing on top of your regular coursework to get into college. You needed your regions, and they would basically tell you in 9th grade, 10th grade, based on your aptitude tests. Well, you're going to go the Regents route. You're going to go the vocation, and they what they did was they stigmatized, in my opinion, what it meant to go into vocational school. And the kids who went to vocational school, they felt dumb, or at least they felt like they were the dumb kids. And then look, 20 years later, how many of my friends who went into the military route or the vocational route, they're sitting on a 20-year retirement from the military.
Yeah.
They've traveled the world. They have nice, high-paying jobs in the private sector now. That was an easy transition when they finished their, studies through the military. And then the ones who went into vocational schools, you should see the houses they've built for themselves. The plumbers, the electricians, the bricklayers, the contractors, all of them. And I know some kids in my graduating class who went the college route, they don't have much going on.
Yeah.
I think they did a huge disservice to that generation.
I think so. I mean, I was blessed. Both my parents have PhDs. They're highly, like growing up, you were going to go to college or you were going to get knocked out. And they live in Killdeer. They live in a very affluent area of Killdeer on a cul-de-sac. I think it's got 5 houses. This is a great story. 5 houses. Dual income PhDs. My parents, I don't want to call them rich, but they don't hurt by any means. And it's a lot different than when I was growing up with them. We were financially different back then. But now they're doing really well. But the other 5 houses, retired Army guy that started an electrical business. The guy across the street had a dry cleaning, industrial dry cleaning business where he cleans all the linens for like hotels downtown. The guy right next to him is a Teamster UPS driver. All trades guys living in, and the guy that's the electrician literally has a house that's about 7,500 square feet. It's probably 3,000 bigger than my dad's, and it probably twice as much as his. And he's got 8 years of college behind him and all this stuff, and nothing wrong with that. He's a chemist by scientist. But here's this guy that went through the Army, put his time in, became an electrical tradesman, and is doing really good for himself. And has this beautiful house, has a great retirement. He's got 7 or 8 kids, and he's living a good life. But he just put the time in. He put the work in. He had a plan when he was younger. He executed it, and it's paying off.
What I wonder is, what are they saying in school today? Is it still the same story, or are they letting them know the opportunities in vocational military careers?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I think that they are doing a little bit better of both. I know that Round Lake High School actually has a signing day for trades now. I had talked to some of the administrators at the high school, and kids great in football or wrestling, and they have a signed day for the college, right? I'm going to go to University of Illinois, and they come out and put the big banner behind you, and you sign your 4 years away to them. But I saw some posts where they were actually doing signing days for like electrical union worker kids that are going to go into the trades. Yeah, I thought that was really great, because there is a stigmatism to manual labor jobs, but there shouldn't be. And why not embrace that? There's kids that just aren't school kids. My youngest boy isn't. He's smart. He might be one of the smartest kids I know. He's super intelligent, reads a lot, knows a lot, does not like the institution of school.
That's the sign of genius.
It could be, I read something many years ago in, I think it was one of the magazines, and it was saying that you're more likely to become a millionaire without a college education than you are because you're a risk taker.
Yeah.
Portillo's, for instance, that guy didn't go to college. He just started selling hot dogs. Look what it turned into. I mean, I don't know if that goes across the board all the time, but it kind of makes a little bit of sense that sometimes when you're highly educated, you're more conservative maybe, and not going to risk that last $30 in your wallet to let it ride on a hot dog stand, Well,
I also think there's some truth to the fact that if you're very highly educated, you're more likely to opt for the security of working for someone else. because it makes sense. We go through, we work our 30 years, we do our retirement, we've built up a nice nest egg and a retirement account, and so I think it just leads more to that. But it doesn't mean that we don't have highly educated CEOs who are just making $30-40 million a year.
And we need them all. We need all those different things. I just think it's nice to put it out there for the kids coming through the 8th, 9th through 12th grades that there's options out there. If you aren't into the books or into the schooling, or you don't want to be a lawyer or a professional salesman or whatever, that there's other options out there that might appease you or make you happy in life, and still make a decent living,
Yeah, no, absolutely. And as we talk all the time, and want to welcome, Christin has made it into the studio. Hello, Christin.
Hello, everybody.
We talk about it all the time. Real estate's one of those opportunities for people where a degree is not required to sell real estate. And real estate is filled with so many smart people who know how to make things happen and make things work, and they didn't go to college to do it. And I think real estate and any sort of sales is probably one of the real last bastions of where someone becomes considerably wealthy without a college degree.
Interesting. Yeah.
As long as they're flexible and they understand the market and they understand people, and they gotta know how to work with people. That's the big one.
And put in the work, right? It doesn't come to you.
Definitely,
right? You gotta put in the hours and the days and the time, and learn about your community and overall just get better, right? And every day you
provide a reason for people to want to call you in the first place.
Yeah, my wife was worked for the Tricoci University,
Mario
stuff. Mario, and for a long time. And one of the things that they would run into in the recent generations was these students thought it was a great career to get into, but they didn't really feel, they were like, well, I'm not going to work on Saturdays. Well, you're going to have to work on Saturdays, and that
sure.
Or they were like, I need my 2 15-minute breaks and my 1 hour lunch, and my wife's like, well, when you get into your own salon or you own your own salon, you don't get a lunch. You get to eat a ham sandwich while this lady's processing, and you get indigestion because you ate so fast because you got 3 other clients in chairs that you're making money on.
100%. And when it's your salon, you've got to put in the work. Because someone told me once, only entrepreneurs will work 60 hours a week to avoid having to work 40 hours a week for someone else.
Yeah. It's one of those things. My dad always said he owned his own business, so did my mother, and they always said that they worked harder for less money, but it was more gratifying.
Sure, yeah, I can see that. I mean, Dick, if you remember the very first meeting that you and I had together when I was even just inquiring about real estate, if you remember me saying, I'm like, yeah, it just seems like a really good career where you can kind of make your own schedule a little bit.
Meanwhile, you're up at 8:30.
What time I was up until last night.
Yeah.
It's what I find gratifying about our business is it's everything.
Yeah.
It's not some things. It's literally everything. The knowledge base that you have to have. You have to have basic knowledge of architecture, basic knowledge of construction, repairs, plumbing, electric, and have basic knowledge of all these things. Grading, drainage, those things matter. And then marketing, advertising. There's very little selling in real estate.
And then knowing your client, right? I mean,
and then the psychology of it, right?
What's their pain level, or what's
their disc profile,
right?
Yeah. So there's some psychology. And
what's their why?
Yeah.
How do you help them accomplish their why?
Yeah.
And what like I said, almost zero selling. The only selling that's in real estate is selling yourself to your clients.
Yeah, 100%.
That's it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that we get to the market minute this week. I missed it last week because we had a busy show. But I want to make sure we get it. Christin, I think I've got everything tweaked and fine-tuned so we have no technical difficulties. But I will accept 15 technical mistakes.
15.
I think that's my threshold.
Wow.
I expect none, but I will accept 15.
Wow, you're so kind to yourself.
I am, yes.
So the over-under, right?
But can you do me a favor? Because I have no idea what's going out over the airways. No way to test it. Can you see if we're echoing? Can you make sure the sound is going out there? I'd really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, so far there's no comments indicating otherwise.
Yeah, but we should really check the stream.
Sure, of course.
Because sometimes people hear the echoes and they just turn right off. So they're like, it's echoing again. Who knows? Somebody's going to figure it out. So we're just going to get started with our Market Minute. Oops.
Dick Barr's Market
Okay,
Minute.
mistake number one.
Market Minute.
Okay, so we have a kind of a new layout how we set up the Market Minute, and this is kind of like a whole family affair. I've got different parts of my family doing different pieces of the technical production of this. I've got my daughter downloading data. I've got my son running some AI scripts and then generating these cool graphics. So now people watching at home can see the side-by-side of the market data alongside of my commentary. So I just hope it's working, and I hope it's not echoing. But this is the Market Minute for the week of Monday, March 24th. I'm Dick Barr, host of Unlocking Lake County. And we're going to start with Antioch. And Antioch saw $2.3 million in sales in the past week, which is down 63%. You're going to see a trend here. Almost all communities are down significantly this past week versus last week and last month. Month over month is the increase, though, of 95%, so almost 100% more than last month. Year over year increase of 20%. So statistically significant. Antioch sitting at a 1.86 month supply of inventory on housing. 160,000 was the lowest priced home sold. Just under 2 million was the high. 400,000 was the median sales price in Antioch, which is an increase, of about 7%, which is right on track with what the national average is. Average market time in Antioch right now is 23 days, just over 3 weeks, which is significantly less than the 46 days it was last month. We have 41 active listings, 10 new listings, 6 new contracts in the past week, and 2 closed homes in the past 6 weeks. All of those numbers are slightly down from the previous week. So now we're going to head on over to Volo, Fox Lake, and Ingleside, where, similar to Antioch, they did about $1.9 million in sales, down 60% week over week, month over month, down half. Year over year increase of 12%, less than a month's supply of inventory at 0.78. 125,000 was the lowest priced home sold. 1.5 million was the high. 390,000 was the median. You have anything?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It actually is showing that the live stream is not working on Facebook right now.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Does it say anything?
No. Just says that it'll be back when it has signal. But I do see it's on our Twitch.
It's on the Twitch.
Yeah.
And on Facebook, I'm curious if I see it on my stream. So I see it.
It exists, and then when you click on it to open it up, yeah, see?
Waiting for live video signal. Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Well,
this counts as just one, folks. So
that
this is only one mistake.
So, oh wow. Well, we do have the recording, and we'll upload the recording. So even if you don't have live, you'll catch us on the rerun. So they've month supply of inventory 0.78, average market time 32.6 days. Prior 4 weeks is 24 days. Active listings 16 this week, down from 21 last week. 3 new listings this week, down from 8 last week. 5 new contracts this week, down from 10 the prior week, and 5 closed listings, same as last week's 5. Now on over to Grace Lake Wildwood, where they had about 1.6 million in sales in the previous week, down 48% from last week, down 52% from last month, year over year increase of just under 9%. Month supply of inventory is 1.59. 269,000 was the lowest priced home sold. High was 725,000. Median sales price of 477,000. Average time in the market's only 34 days, which is an increase of the prior 4 weeks where it was 21 days. 35 active listings this week. New listings 6, 4 new contracts, and 0 closed listings.
Wow.
Wait till we get to Round Lake. It's going to be interesting data. So that's your neck of the woods too.
You bet. Yeah.
Did I call you Russ earlier? I think I might have accidentally.
I did. I've been called worse.
Yeah,
no
Brian.
I'll wear that with a badge of honor.
Now on over to Gurney and Wadsworth, where they only did 1.5 million in sales. It was kind of low for them. That's down 47% from last week, down 60% from last month, but year-over-year increase of 19%. And I think that has to do with the fact that it's warmed up sooner this year than it did last. Only a half a month supply of inventory. Lowest priced home sold was 125,000 with a high of 675,000. Median sales price of 337,000. Average market time is 32.4 days, down from the 41 days than the prior month. They are sitting on 17 active listings, 4 new listings this week, 5 new contracts this week, and 5 closed listings. Now on over to Lindenhurst and Lake Villa, our backyard. only less than $1 million in sales last week, which is down 72% from last week, down 36% from last month, but increase of 17% from last year. 1.25 month supply of inventory. Lowest priced home sold was $159,000. $735,000 was the high. Median sales price was $410,000, which is 9% better than last year. Average market time is only 27.9 days, which is about double what it was last month. Only 17 days market time was the average last month. But so few sales, so that kind of skews, at least weights the average. 27 active listings, only 2 new listings this week, only 1 new contract this week, and 1 closed listing. And it's just about to get worse as we hit Round Lake, which is the lowest numbers we've seen for Round Lake in a long time. Round Lake, largest population of all of the communities we talk about, only 0.4 million, 400,000, 2 sales.
Wow.
In the past week, which is down 85% from last week, down 43% from last month. Year over year, increased 10%. Month supply of inventory is less than a month. Lowest price home sale was only $97,000.
Wow.
Yeah. Highest was $798,000. Median sales price was $359,000, which is 7% better than last year. Average market time, a little bit slower than usual, 42.6 days. Last month it was 26.9. 24 active listings, 6 new listings, 2 new contracts, and 2 closed sales. Now, I think of all the weeks we've been doing this for the past year and so many months, this was the most surprising report I've seen.
Oh, yeah?
So much so that I actually had to check the numbers to make sure that these were reporting right.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was gonna beat the employees who write the report if they were wrong. They're my kids.
Well, especially because of how much work you and I both do in 60073 and how much we know is coming, because we have a lot of things coming right now. We've got 3 upcoming listings in Valley Lakes alone, so in your neck of the woods. So like we know of the things that are coming, so we're like, it's happening, guys, it's coming.
Yeah, the inventory is coming.
Yeah.
It's been, but there is a slew of sellers coming to market. There's no question. What we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit early break. We're going to come back at the half hour. Just to see if we can figure out what's going on with this live stream. But we're going to send you to commercial, and we will be right back.
Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr will return in just a few moments after these important messages. Don't touch that dial.
This is Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
It's time for the weather.
This weather update is brought to you by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company. This afternoon, we're looking at partly sunny skies with a nice breeze from the north-northwest, clocking in at 5 to 10 miles per hour. As night rolls in, expect mostly cloudy skies with calm south winds taking it easy between 0 and 5 miles per hour. As we peek into tomorrow, there's just a slight chance of a quick shower before the afternoon rolls around. Otherwise, it stays mostly cloudy. Keep an eye on those south-southwest winds picking up a bit, around 5 to 10 miles per hour.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3, The Life.
It's the best station on the radio. It's time for Unlocking This Day in History, brought to you by Harder & Shotland Law Firm in Round Lake Beach. Let's take a quick trip back in time to what happened today in history. Zooming back all the way to the year of our Lord, 1872. Picture this. Captain Jack and the Modoc tribe stage a significant standoff against the United States Army in the famous lava beds of California. I mean, who needs action movies when history's got plots thicker than molasses? Fast forward to 1953, when Dr. Jonas Salk announced that he had successfully tested a vaccine against poliomyelitis, commonly known as polio. Talk about a guy who truly injected a bit of hope into the world. In the world of sport, let's jog up to 1979. The legendary NCAA match known as the Magic vs. Bird game took place, with Magic Johnson's Michigan State Spartans winning over Larry Bird's Indiana State Sycamores. Perhaps the start of a magical rivalry? How about a spacey event? Today, in 2010, the spacecraft Soyuz TMA-16 carrying NASA astronaut Jeff Williams Russian cosmonaut Maxim Sarayev, and space tourist Charles Simonyi touched down safely in Kazakhstan. Imagine another day's work and a tale of cosmic commuting. And let's not forget, today's also a perfect day to honor Purple Day. Since 2008, this day has raised awareness about epilepsy worldwide. A reminder that a dash of color can spur a wave of change. Well, from cosmic rides to purple pride, that's a wrap for our historical highlights. History does have a knack for surprising us, doesn't it? We will catch you next time.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Here's the top stories in real estate today. First up, the prestigious Ryder Cup golf tournament was just held, which has highlighted the popularity of nearby golf communities. According to a report from Zillow, golf course properties have experienced an uptick in both interest and value. This is believed to be driven by golf enthusiasts looking to combine lifestyle and investment in one package. Communities in Chicagoland, with their range of established and high-quality golf courses, are now even more attractive to potential buyers seeking the luxurious lifestyle associated with these kinds of properties. Switching gears to Cook County, an analysis by the Cook County Assessor's Office has shown a significant decrease in property tax delinquencies this quarter. The improvement is attributed to updated assessment practices and better taxpayer assistance programs. This is good news for homeowners and potential buyers alike, as it reflects a healthier real estate market in the region. Property taxes have long been a concern for many, but this latest update suggests stability and improvement. Next, in Lake County, new developments are poised to change the housing landscape. Per a story in the Lake County Journal, a major mixed-use development is set to break ground near Vernon Hills. It promises to bring a mix of residential units along with retail and commercial spaces. This development aims to cater to the increasing population and the demand for housing in the area. Planners anticipate this will also bring more jobs, contributing to the local economy, and as a result, potentially driving real estate prices upwards. Now, looking at the broader Chicagoland area, there is positive news for renters. The Illinois Rental Property Owners Association reports that rent prices have stabilized in the city, marking a shift after a period of significant increases. This change is partly due to a slight increase in rental inventory and new housing units coming onto the market. This stability in rents could encourage more young professionals and families to consider Chicagoland for both short-term and long-term residence plans, which might gradually translate into greater demand for home purchases as well. Finally, on a national level, the green building movement continues to gain momentum. According to recent findings from the United States Green Building Council, homes designed with eco-friendly features are in high demand. The study notes that more buyers are searching for homes that offer solar panels, energy efficient.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
Sound effect, mysterious music playing in the background. Welcome to Weird But True in Lake County, where the tales are strange and the stories are true. Here's one for you, straight out of Lake County, Illinois. Did you know that in the quiet neighborhood of Waukegan, Lake County, there's a secret living legend roaming the streets? And it's not a person, it's a mailbox. Yes, you heard that right, a mailbox. Known to locals as the Phantom of Genesee Street, this particular mailbox has been the talk of the town for over 2 decades. Said to move on its own from one side of the street to the other during the night, there's no shortage of intrigue surrounding this peculiar postal mystery. Some say it all started after a particularly windy night back in 1999. Since then, residents have awoken to find the mailbox mysteriously shuffled across the street, regardless of the weather conditions. Some believe it's a prankster, others say it's the wind. But the mystery has never been solved. Despite its ethereal antics, the mailbox continues to function perfectly, handling letters, bills, and postcards from around the globe. Mail carriers and residents alike have embraced this wandering mailbox as part of the community's charm, bringing an element of whimsy to everyday routine. Whether it's the work of gravity-defying engineering, a devoted yet elusive prankster, or Lake County's own anomaly, it remains weird but true. Brought to you by the Sly Marinca team at Cross Country Mortgage. Sly and his team can be reached at 847-722-1775. Keep an eye on those mailboxes, folks, or who knows, they might just walk away. Sound effect, mysterious music fades out.
Welcome back to Unlocking Lake County with your host, Dick Barr.
Sound effect. Host speaks. Dick Barr. Welcome back to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Guests laugh.
Big smile and a wink.
Audience adores.
I love our technology. So I think we just gave ourselves away. Actually, I kind of admitted
You
it.
brag
last week.
about it.
I do brag about it.
Yeah.
I still think it's a cool feature.
It is cool.
Got to figure out how to make those things not kind of crop up. For those who don't know what we're talking about, all those features that you hear on the during the commercial break, those sponsored features by our awesome sponsors, it's all AI. So we've generated some cool technology that writes the scripts. It vocalizes the scripts. It runs some compression, some of the cool things happening, and then puts it all together. And behind the scenes, this is just happening while we're doing the show. Throws it onto my computer, runs it into the DJ mix, and then plays it as part of the commercial. It's pretty freaking awesome. But it doesn't always work the way we want it to. And the weird but true bit, I think I've got to change the name because we've done some research, Brian. I don't think they're very true.
I was listening last Wednesday with the monster in the lake.
Yeah, the Beluvian monster, the Loch Ness monster of the Volo Bog.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that story about the mailboxes was. I mean, they're entertaining stories.
So what does AI go out and scrub the internet and come up with those things?
That's what its instruction is.
Okay.
It's also instructed to not make things up. It doesn't seem to follow that. It's a little insubordinate.
It's kind of like Wiki, right?
Exactly. Okay, so typically this time of show, we would turn it over to Sly Marinca from the Sly Marinca team at Cross Country Mortgage.
Where the heck is Sly?
Yeah, spring break.
So?
Yeah, they're on a nice trip with the family.
They just went on a trip. Get back here, Sly. You were just playing in the snow. We did not approve this time off.
Hey, he's the smartest guy not in the room.
Yeah, right.
He's vacationing. Good for him.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Have fun.
So we're going to go to. I want to do just a brief synopsis of what's going on in the mortgage. I don't want to miss the data. So got some basic data, not as detailed as Sly, nor do I have as much of the explanation as Sly. But the current 30-year fixed rate mortgage is at 8.64% national average, and that's a slight tick up from where it was last week. I think it was like 6.81 when Sly announced it. So it looks like 5 basis points, I think. The 15-year fixed is 6.2%, 7/1 adjustable, 6.5. Adjustable, I haven't seen an adjustable rate mortgage start on a home purchase in probably 17 years. Sly could tell us if they're still happening, but I just don't think people are doing the adjustables.
They are, actually. I have a client who is pre-approved with a 7-year ARM.
Yeah.
Interesting. Huh, okay.
It was the first time I had heard it in a while that anyone had.
I guess if they know they're going to move in a certain amount of time, the lower interest rate works. But if you feel like you're going to exceed that 7 years, it's probably not the way to go.
Yeah, and then you also run the risk of, like what happened in 2008.
Yeah, adjustments.
People thought they were going to stay 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and they wound up staying 20.
Right. Yeah, and then it adjusts, right? And
right, yeah.
Next thing you know, it's 12% on you.
So let's hope it doesn't get that high. Anyway, the factors pointing to the mortgage inflation still saying higher than when they want it to be. They want it to be at 2%, still higher. Economic growth is slowing down a little bit, which is kind of putting some downward pressure on the rates. It's kind of one of those things. It's a reverse compliment. It's like low rates is great, except it usually means kind of worsening the economy.
Other things are happening, right?
Right, so they can strengthen the... and the other thing that it pointed to with my non-scientific research talked about conditions in the bond and housing market. And right now with inventory so low, not a lot of buying activity. We saw it in this week's Market Minute report where we're seeing, some cases where we're 50, 60% less sales this week versus just last week. But that kind of makes sense too. I think when that weather first lit up, a lot of homes started, getting under contract real quick. So nothing too crazy or scary on that factor. But because we're coming to spring, Christin, I'm going to lean on you a little bit here because I know you're an expert at listing properties in the spring market. Let's talk about what are some things that sellers can do to get their house ready to shine when it's kind of still ugly and mucky out there.
Yeah. So first thing I recommend doing is getting a time machine, going back into the fall, asking us to have come done your photos already in advance while it was still pretty out.
And get rid of your dogs, right?
So that is my favorite scenario, when people know that they're going to be selling in the springtime and they hit us up in advance so that we can sort of pre-plan those outdoor photos. Because, I mean, let's just be honest, it is a little bit nicer looking outside before the trees get naked and everything gets muddy. But that's okay, right? We work with what we've got.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So definitely focus on spring cleaning first and foremost. Clutter is the number one thing that you can do within your control today to start prepping your house for sale.
Yeah, big one. And curb appeal, because it's kind of mucky out there.
Yeah.
You know, we've got, all the melted snow, the mud, the divots alongside the driveways.
Yeah, where your car kept driving over and over again because you couldn't see where your driveway was with the snow.
Now's a great time. You can make the property look really nice with just doing a spring cleanup. Get out there, cut the beds, take your shovel, cut the beds, make nice straight lines, kind of rejuvenate those nice straight lines. Always recommend cutting the grass along if you have curbs or sidewalks, do a nice cut edge along those those clean, crisp looks will help your house stand out over your neighbors who might not be as good. And it's sometimes you're like, oh, well, my neighbor's house doesn't look that great. Well, sometimes that helps make your house look better.
Absolutely, it does.
Yeah,
for sure.
So go in there if you have a landscape service, what's the gentleman who comes in here all the time? Matt from Apex Landscaping. He's got some great ideas on ways to kind of, for not a lot of money, to come in and kind of spruce up the landscape, make the house look great again. Pruning back bushes, another big one for curb appeal. But getting the airflow through the house.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That fresh feel of that spring air, kind of getting rid of all the kind of stagnant
dead energy just sitting in your house.
Exactly. And then that spring cleaning. A lot of people overlook baseboards. Baseboards, you'd be surprised how many people who are buying are going to be looking at the things that you wouldn't normally think.
For sure.
And having those crisp and clean is such a nice tip for getting ready. But now what about buyers? I know you're working with a ton of buyers right now.
Yeah.
What are they looking at? What do buyers want in today's housing, and what can sellers do to meet them where they're at?
Yeah, so kind of piggybacking off of what you've already said, you had mentioned baseboards, and you haven't said it directly, but I'm going to say it now. Anything that can communicate an attention to detail for your home sale is going to communicate a well-maintained home to your buyers, right? So I had a home sale over the weekend, and they were like these dream clients, right? You walked in for this listing appointment, and it was just already ready to go. It was beautiful. It was so well-maintained, and every single bit of feedback that we had from the buyers that were walking in and out of this listing were so impressed with it, because not only did they have the attention to detail with like the cleaning, all the little details, the baseboards, making sure that, I think they were like scrubbing the grout in between the tiles to make sure everything was, nice looking. They had the house smelling good. They had their little diffuser on. I mean, all those little details, things that you wouldn't normally think to do, are the things that your buyers are going to notice, because that's going to communicate to them, these people took care of this house.
Yeah. It's a psychological factor.
Yeah.
And I don't think the buyers even realize they're experience those feelings.
Yeah.
They're just there. And within minutes of a buyer walking into that house, they know if they want that house or not.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the reasons that it's important that you communicate to your buyers that you're taking care of the house is because you're also, in a way, like that psychological aspect, you're communicating to them, you don't have to worry about unforeseen problems in this house because of the fact that it's been well maintained, and they don't, and you're exactly right. Those buyers aren't saying those things out loud. Exactly. Right. They're not like, wow, it smells really good in here. I bet you there's going to be no problems with inspection. Right. But they are definitely walking around saying things like, oh, wow, you can tell they really took care of this place. That's cool. Yeah. Like, I think we could really see ourselves moving into this place. I'm not really seeing any issues coming up. Do you? No, I think we should do it, because it's communicating the right message to your buyers.
Yeah. How many times we walk into a house and you've seen this. There's a moment that the house like literally jumps up and grabs the buyer, and that moment that it hits them, and you see that look. And how it hits them, and this could be good or this could be bad, because your client might be falling in love with a house that you don't think is right for them, but we don't get to decide that. That's theirs. But there's moments as they walk through that you see different things click. One of the first things when they first walk into the house, most people, when they walk into the house, if they see a mess at the front door, they see a shelf with mail and papers and keys and change.
Shoes all over the place.
Yeah. A coat rack or hooks on the wall where the kids' backpacks are hanging. Buyers walk in and they might say, oh, wow, this is lived in. They might say that.
Sure.
But what their brain is telling them behind the scenes, there's not enough space in your house to put everything, so you have to look at it day in and day out, and you have to see your kids' backpacks out, and you have to see the papers out, and that's where your keys are going to be. So if company comes over, this is what they see. And that tells their brain, oh, no, not enough closet space.
Right.
So psychologically, they've already not bought your house based on that first step into the door. Yeah. So selling, especially in this season where your shoes are wet, your shoes are muddy, consider storing them in the garage, getting rid of coat racks in the front entrance, get rid of hooks, because it just tells your buyer there's not enough closet space.
Muddy dog paws.
Muddy dog paws.
For
exactly.
Sure.
Yeah.
And on the flip side of things, too, I mean, because there's nothing wrong with if you have a smaller space and you're just working with what you've got, like that's okay, right? But find a clever way to do it then, because I've also shown homes to clients that are in, more modest price points where there isn't a ton of space, but they're intentional with their use of space, right? So buyers walk in and they see like a well-placed wardrobe closet where there otherwise would have been blank wall space. So it's used well. And they're like, oh, that's clever. I wouldn't have thought to put that there. That's smart. Anything that you can do to suggest, what's the word I'm looking for? Just like clever living, if you've got a small space, work with what you've got and consult with your realtor and ask if they have any tips on how you can use your space intentionally to suggest good usage of that space to your buyers too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Realtors love those questions.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it's like, someone will listen to me?
Well, I think people that live in their house, too, if you walk by the dead tree 100 days in a row, you forget the dead tree.
100%.
But then you get a new set of eyes on that, and all of a sudden they're like, hey, there's a dead tree there. We need to chop that down.
Yeah.
So, that I think as a seller, we're kind of conditioned to that we forget kind of the inefficiencies of our home, right?
I do kind of always, one of the things I advise my clients to do is like when they're not at home, right? I tell them on your drive home, I want you to kind of switch your brain into buyer mode. I want you to pretend you've never seen your home before. And I want you to try and walk through your house with a fresh set of eyes, pretending you've never been there before. What do you see? And almost every time they're like, oh, Kristen, that was super helpful. Like that was way more helpful than if you had given me a detailed list, because now all of a sudden I see the things that, just like you said, like my mind's eye just doesn't see anymore, for sure. Which kind of goes back to like the most annoying but honestly true piece of advice I can give you is that if you're thinking of selling in the spring, have that conversation with your realtor as soon as possible so we can give you some of those tips in advance, so we can prep you, so we can get you ready to get on the market. That way you don't have to be scrambling last minute or figuring out what you need to do on your own,
The worst call we can get is, hey, I'm ready to go on the market. Great. When? Tomorrow. And people don't think about this. Most of the work happens behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Most of the work happens and people don't even know it's happening. It's the prepping. It's the planning. It's even 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 5 years. Hey, my plan is to move in 5 years. What can I start doing today, little bit by little bit, year after year?
Yeah.
What colors are in vogue right now? What flooring style should I consider? Should I use LVP? Should I use pergo, plank, hardwoods, carpet? Those things come and go. A big one is colors of kitchen cabinets. We're seeing it was very white for a long time. Now, we're starting to see starting to go back into some more pastel colors.
Interesting.
Surprisingly.
I'm for it. I love it.
Yeah.
Granite countertops, all the rage for a long time. Now people starting to show preference of quartz. I don't really know what's driving that. I've heard some people say, well, granite has got some radioactive decay that still comes out of it. So I don't know.
Well, it's porous, isn't it? Granite. So
It's more
you have
porous
to
than quartz.
condition it where quartz you don't. So it's
Yep.
there's more maintenance to it if you do it right. And
Correct. There's 100%. And they're all breaking the glass when you drop them on them.
yeah.
But the Kristen's 100% right. Is you start prepping soon, and even from the marketing perspective, you'd be surprised the difference in an outcome. Number one, how fast your house sells. Number two, how much money you get for it.
Yeah.
By doing 2, 3, 5, 7 weeks of preliminary marketing and priming the pump, getting that sign in the yard soon, because now people are curious. And then when the opening weekend launch happens, boom, you shoot it out of the park just because of good preparation.
Yeah.
So 100%, I can't agree with you more, Kristen, getting whoever your professional is in sooner than later, because chances are they know what it needs. They know what needs to happen to get you your desired outcome. Now, what about, so besides the obvious things, Kristen, because I know you've got several buyers you're working from different parts of the country.
Yeah.
Right? Are you seeing any trends for the types of things they're looking for from a design standpoint? Are from the kitchen standpoint, baths, are they more forgiving now because inventory is so tight? Are they demanding? Are they asking for a lot? Or are they saying, well, we understand it's lived in and this is our only option, so let's just buy it? Are you getting any feel from that?
I'm getting almost no desperation.
None.
Surprisingly.
Yeah. Yep.
Almost none. Yeah, I'm not getting any, well, this is what's available and we need something, let's just get it. Not at all. I'm seeing so much of,
That's a good position for a buyer to be in.
I'm willing to move on.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of, if the sellers aren't agreeable to this, I'm willing to move on. Right? So I am seeing a lot less desperation than we saw last year, for sure.
Yeah.
Right?
Which, again, is somewhat ironic considering we have almost no inventory.
I know, but they're willing. They're willing to wait it out, and I kind of respect it, even though there's a part of me that's like, oh no, but I don't know when I'm going to find you something else like this. Are you sure? Okay, all right, and it's never coming from a place of like, oh my God, just pick something, right?
Of course
but
not.
It's definitely.
But next year, it's going to be 7 to 15% more. I mean, how many of our clients coming back to us this year, like, okay, we're ready to just make it happen. Okay. Remember, you were searching for 250. Now we're up to 275.
Yeah. Yep.
You're just trying to protect that. But again, it's their choice.
100%.
100%.
Yeah, but I am seeing a lot more willingness to wait it out, willingness to move on, willingness to, explore other options. I'm seeing so little desperation to the point where even when I'm just talking strategically sometimes with some of my buyers of like, oh, we may explore this option on your contract, or if we want to make our offer stand out, might consider this, and they're like, no, I don't want to do that. If they don't want my offer, I'll move on. So I am seeing a lot of buyers just kind of standing. Yeah, I'm just seeing them kind of standing firm in what they're willing to do and what they're not willing to do.
Okay. I think a lot of buyers are afraid of competing offers because they think that means bidding war.
Right.
But the reality is we don't really have bidding wars that much.
Yeah.
Occasionally. We have multiple offers a lot.
Yeah.
But it's usually not a bidding war. And I think buyers are afraid of that. Whoa, 200, no 210, no 250, no 270. It's not it. And a lot of buyers don't realize that when it's multiple offers, 8 times out of 10, the seller just says, we've received multiple offers.
Right.
Surprisingly, the house you liked is also liked by some other people, and you all made offers. So what we're asking is all buyers to say, what's your highest offer? What's your best offer? And we will evaluate those.
Yeah.
And they're not coming back and forth and saying, okay, $1 more, $1 more, 1,000 more, 10,000 more.
No.
So it's really, you just throw your best shot, whatever you're willing to go. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, you move on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I can't stress this enough to any of the buyers, whether you're working with anyone in this room or you've got your own realtor. Listen to your realtor when they're talking about options that you have with your offers when it comes to different terms and things you can do to make your offer stand out. The listing that we had go under contract just over the weekend, the buyer won because of their terms.
Yeah. Yeah,
it wasn't the strong. It was
best.
not the highest.
Yeah,
offer
not always
financially.
highest.
Yeah, I think that's what we've seen. I'm not a real estate agent, but it seems like fast closes or higher down payments.
Or just flexible
Or
closes.
flexibility.
It doesn't
Flexibility,
need to be fast.
right?
Sometimes they need
It may
more
not be
time.
the price that's necessarily the deal breaker. It's
Right.
it's the closing terms, right?
There's just so many variables, so many things that you can do, and I don't want to go into them to give other realtors our strategies. But listen, for real, listen to your real estate agent, because like there really are things that we can do, and that's not just us trying to like find new ways to get you this deal to be sneaky. Like we're really trying to help you, and that can absolutely be the thing that makes your offer stand out without having to go, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 grand over the asking price, because you're exactly right, Dick. Like that's not really what it's coming down to,
Yeah, you'd be surprised. Well, not you, but people listening will be surprised how many offers are accepted that aren't the highest dollar amount. Lending terms, cash, maybe faster closings, sometimes slower.
Yeah,
Closing.
Flexibility.
Like, hey, we need 60 days because we still have to find a place to buy.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
or they rent it back for that period of time from you, and you have to be amicable to that, right? And,
Well,
It's an option.
it's an option,
Yeah.
right? So, and who's ever got the most flexibility on all terms tends to be the winner. And there's other strategies. I don't particularly care for the escalation clauses. We do receive some of them. An escalation clause is basically you put a price in, but you also put a highest price in.
Yeah.
So let's say it's 400,000 is my offer, but I'm willing to pay 435. I'll say I'll offer 400,000, and I will be $1,000 or at whatever the number is.
Yeah, you pick a
more
number.
than the highest bidder, up to 435. It's called an escalation clause. I'm a little bit torn on those because number one, you're actually telling the seller
your highest bid.
your highest bid. Yes, you're protecting yourself of being able to get it should it go higher.
Right.
But what's to stop the seller from just saying, okay, I know you want to pay 435 and just countering you at 435.
Right.
So those are, I think, need to be used a little bit with some discretion and some prudence because they could backfire.
Yeah, I think that they're presented to buyers in a way where it's like saving them the potential of having to spend all that money. But I do agree with you in the long run. Like, unless you're willing to spend that top dollar amount, really consider the implications of that escalation clause for sure.
yeah.
Because like the chances are, if you're submitting an escalation clause, you're probably going to be either countered or just end up at that highest number that you
Yeah.
said you're willing to go
Well,
to.
and that's
Sometimes
the
we
dance,
get two
right?
escalation clauses where they escalate each other up. Yeah, it happens.
Isn't that the dance, though? That's why you guys make the commission. Is you know the buyer, you know the seller, or you maybe not know them, but you know the negotiation protocol, right?
Well, the
It's
protocol,
part of
we
it.
know the options. Sometimes you're shooting blind.
Yeah.
Like on a multiple bid offer, the seller's not going to tell
Yeah.
you the price you need to beat. They're just saying, no,
Right.
bring it.
But you know the back. You can say this is what it's worth. This is what it's going to go for. This
Yes.
is where you need
Yeah.
to be.
And this is where we think it'll go over.
But be prepared, right? We might come back with another $10,000 needed to make this happen.
Yeah.
And then as your customer, I'll be like, okay, I can go to 435. I can go to 445, or I'm done at 435.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And
It's certainly one of my favorite parts of the job. Is making
it's interesting.
getting those phone calls back and
that's
forth
the chess
and wheeling
part, right?
and dealing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That part is fun for me for sure. Like I do enjoy that.
I'm going to give away a trade secret. So when we talk about highest and best offers, what I tell the client is, they say, well, what is my highest and best offer? Well, like you said, Brian, you want to back them up with all the data. Show them the market analysis. How much is the house worth?
right.
Yeah.
But
that's
my
a big part
market
of it.
analysis looks backwards. It doesn't look at today, and it doesn't look at tomorrow. So the market analysis tells you what it was worth a week ago. It doesn't tell you what it's going to be worth by closing time. And we're in these kind of volatile markets
Yeah.
where people are paying more than asking,
Yeah.
more than market value, and more than appraised value, and guaranteeing that difference just to get that house, because they know if they don't get it, well, it's going to be more expensive soon, potentially. But as I'll go to the client and they say, well, what's highest and best? It's easy. So let's say the house is asking for $100,000. And I said to my client, if you offered 100 and the seller countered you at 105, would you take it? Oh, yeah, I would. Okay. Would you do it if they counted at 110? Yeah, I would. How about 115? No, I won't do that. Okay, now we just found your highest and best is 110,000.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's your highest and best because you're shooting blind. And the one thing I want to warn buyers out there, we've seen this where some buyers are sending through their agents offers for ridiculous dollar amounts, assuming it's not going to appraise, thinking that they can get the deal, and then like, oh yeah, then the price is going to come down because the appraisal is going to come down. Be careful because those appraisals are coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The appraisers know the values of these homes.
So does that happen? When my son was looking for a house, we'd see a house that would come off, would go into contingent or whatever, and then it'd come back not unsold 3 months later. And I was speculating that I thought that maybe they were being offered more money than they could finance.
That's possible.
It's one of many things that could come up.
The housing market was so high and elevated that the banks were coming back and worried about when we had the big fallout in the early 2000s.
That's so interesting to me that's where your brain went, because so many people, if they see something come back to the market, they think, what's wrong with it? Right. What's wrong with the house? There must be something wrong with it. So that's really interesting to me that your brain went to like the numbers.
No, but because he said 3 weeks.
Yeah.
If it fails in the first 2 weeks, yes. 3 weeks is usually lending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking, is that they couldn't secure the financing because their loan to what is it? Loan to
value.
Value was too high, right? And the bank didn't. It was too big of a risk for the bank to finance, I would think.
It could be just about anything. We just had a weird situation on one of our listings that closed yesterday, so I can talk about it. The buyer was approved. They made the offer. The seller accepted it. We represented the seller, and then right before closing, they requested an extension. The buyer's loan hadn't fully approved, and we were trying to figure out why. We asked the lender, and they told us. They said, we missed the second PIN, the second parcel, and the buyer's debt to incomes were so tight.
Yeah, that threw them over.
The extra $600 a year threw them over, so now we're looking for more reserves, and we're just trying to find more documentation. And they wound up trying to extend 3 times, and the third time we said, no, we're not extending again. If you get the loan, fine. Bring us the clear to close, we'll close. But we're now going back on the market. So again, no problem with the seller, no problem with the appraisal, actually a problem with the lender, with the borrower.
Yeah.
But because their lender missed something in the contract.
Yeah.
So it could be just about anything. Well, this one's smoother than I thought, so this was great. Sly, we don't need you. Stay in Tennessee. Don't come back for us.
Sly.
This went perfect. See, no technical difficulties either. We will be right back after these words.
Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr will return in just a few moments after these important messages. Don't touch that dial.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
It's time for the weather.
This weather update is brought to you by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company. Keep an eye out for a sprinkle or two before midday. Then the sun plays peekaboo for the rest of the day, climbing up to 52. We've got a gentle north-northwest breeze at 5 to 10 miles per hour to keep things fresh. Tonight, clouds gather up as temperatures head down to around 38 with calm southerly whispers. Looking ahead to tomorrow, there's another small shower chance before the afternoon, with the clouds sticking around and a nudge warmer at 53.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County.
Unlocking Lake County
with Dick Barr. 98.3 The Life.
Hello, it's time for Unlocking This Day in History. Brought to you by Harder & Shotland Law Firm in Round Lake Beach. Let's take a quick trip back in time to what happened today in history. All right, history buffs, put on your party hats because on March 26, 1872, the first ever Arbor Day was celebrated in the pioneering state of Nebraska. Yes, folks, Arbor Day was all about planting trees and spreading greenery. Nebraskans rose to the challenge, planting an estimated 1 million trees in a single day. Talk about being ahead of the green movement. Am I right? Fast forward to March 26th, 1972, when a beloved treat turned 50. Yes, the gooey, sticky goodness of the Cadbury creme egg first hit the shelves in 1922 and was already a golden oldie by the time it was a half-century-old delight. And let's not forget March 26th, 1973, when the soap opera The Young and the Restless made its debut on television screens across America, capturing hearts and launching dramatic eyebrow raises that could be seen from space. Oh, and how could we overlook March 26, 2018, when the world witnessed the first successful test flight of SpaceX's Falcon Heavy? Elon Musk sent his very own Tesla Roadster sailing into the cosmos. What a day for both car enthusiasts and space cadets alike. That's it for today, folks. Who knew March 26th held such treasures in the history chest? We will catch you next time.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Here's the top stories in real estate today. First up, brought to you by Harder & Shotland Law Firm in Round Lake Beach. Let's take a quick trip back in time to what happened today in history. All right, history buffs, put on your party hats because on March 26, 1872, the first ever Arbor Day was celebrated in the pioneering state of Nebraska. Yes, folks, Arbor Day was all about planting trees and spreading greenery. Nebraskans rose to the challenge, planting an estimated 1 million trees in a single day. Talk about being ahead of the green movement, am I right? Fast forward to March 26, 1972, when a beloved treat turned 50. Yes, the gooey, sticky goodness of the Cadbury creme egg first hit the shelves in 1922 and was already a golden oldie by the time it was a half-century-old delight. And let's not forget March 26, 1973, when the soap opera The Young and the Restless made its debut on television screens across America, capturing hearts and launching dramatic eyebrow raises that could be seen from space. Oh, and how could we overlook March 26, 2018, when the world witnessed the first successful test flight of SpaceX's Falcon Heavy? Elon Musk sent his very own Tesla Roadster sailing into the cosmos. What a day for both car enthusiasts and space cadets alike. That's it for today, folks. Who knew March 26th held such treasures in the history chest? We will catch you next time.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Your favorite show right here on 98.3 FM.
98.3 The Life.
Welcome back to Weird But True in Lake County. Today, we're diving into a curious piece of local lore that you're sure to find fascinating. Did you know that in Lake County, there's a house named after a famous chicken prank? Yes, you heard that right. It's the Chicken House of Libertyville. Back in the mid-20th century, this house became infamous for a hilarious dispute between neighbors that spiraled into an epic prank. As the story goes, one neighbor was so annoyed by the constant crowing of his neighbor's chickens, he took matters into his own hands. In a twist of comedic genius, he placed a giant fiberglass chicken on his own roof, pointed directly at his neighbor's property. Imagine waking up to that sight. Rather than escalating tensions, the move became a local sensation and a neighborhood joke, bridging grievances with humor. Today, Chicken House remains a beloved relic of Libertyville's quirky past. And it's even marked by a plaque to commemorate this peculiar poultry prank. So next time you're in Libertyville, remember this whimsical tale of community spirit and creativity, all sparked by some barnyard banter. This segment of Weird But True in Lake County was brought to you by the Sly Marinca team at Cross Country Mortgage. Sly and his team can be reached at 847-722-1775. Stay tuned for more unbelievable local stories.
Welcome back to Unlocking Lake County with your host, Dick Barr.
And welcome back, Northwest Lake County. I'm your host, Dick Barr, here for Unlocking Lake County, here with Christin Kaufman.
Hello.
And special guest in the studio, Round Lake trustee, Brian Brubaker.
Hello.
And Brian's also running for mayor on, this Monday's election, right? Next Tuesday.
Tuesday, the first of all days to hold an election, April 1st.
Especially with late arriving ballots, someone could experience an April Fool's victory or loss. Right. Hey, you won. April Fool's, actually, the late arriving ballots just came in.
Mm-hmm.
And interesting, I saw there was a new executive order came out yesterday, had something to do with the election. I didn't read it, so I shouldn't even be talking about it. I don't know. But apparently moving to get away from early voting and election day voting and nothing accepted after election day. And I don't know how practical that's going to be, because we do have, at least overseas, people who are traveling overseas. We have military overseas, so I don't know how any of that accounts. So by next week, after the election, I'll have done some reading on that and find out more about what's going on. But none of that affects this election. Couple of things, some housekeeping for the listeners and viewers. The county recently changed, and you might have some specifics, Brian. Feel free to interject. Excuse me. The county switched to, you can go to any polling location now to vote. Is that right?
That's correct, starting for this election. So it started, March 14th, early voting.
Right.
So from my understanding, you can vote anywhere in the county. So if you live in Round Lake but work in Waukegan, usually you'd have to leave work early or come home late to hit to the polls. You can vote at any open polling center from here through April 1st.
Yeah, through Election Day, which is unique.
And on Election Day, yeah. So I think that's a great thing. I think it helps a lot of people fit that into their schedule versus having to rush home to get to their preferred polling spot. You can still do that, but...
Right. And I think it also helps because... the polling locations have been changing quite frequently these past several elections. And a lot of people wonder, hey, where is my polling location? Yeah. Mine changed 4 times in the past 4 elections.
Really?
Yeah. So people are like, where do I vote? Where do I vote? And now, in where I live, I'm just telling people, well, if you don't know where to vote, just go to the Civic Center, because they have a polling location and you could vote there even on Election Day, even if it's not yours.
Okay.
What I don't know is going to happen, and you're going to find out, is... if you're not polling at your precinct polling location,
right,
when exactly is it going to be counted? And so typically in the past, when that precinct polling location closed, they took their results. Those are all the results from people in that those precincts, because usually a few precincts per polling location.
Yeah.
Delivered the results to the county, and then the county reported it. So you would see 100% in precincts 155, 156, 157. But now, if I vote in Waukegan, when is my vote counted to have been read? Is that going to mean all polling locations will stay unreported until all polling locations close?
It's a great question. I wonder, because it's all electronic, so I wonder if it's simultaneous. Because right now, you can vote anywhere in the county, but they're updating their mail-in and early voting at 5 o'clock every day, every 24 hours.
Right.
And people are voting. I know people are voting in Waukegan for us, because they work at the county building or wherever they're at, or in somewhere else in Lake County, and I'm getting their results the following day. So so it's real time. It's or pretty close to real time with that, but I don't know about
not
the
day
counting
of it, just the tabulating of the fact that it was a vote, but not the counting of what the vote was.
Correct.
Right.
It doesn't tell you who.
Right.
But I can recognize the name that I know voted.
Sure, they voted.
That they're a Round Lake voter, and they voted. I know they told, because I know them, they voted somewhere else besides Round Lake to cast their vote, but I'm getting that information within 24 hours. So I don't know how it's going to work on April 1st on the actual election day.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. There's been times in the past, because they used to count all of the precinct in-person votings first. Yeah. Then when everyone closed, then they would count all the vote by mail and early votes. They would run those through the machines and tabulate. And that was annoying sometimes. You'd be 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. We're waiting for one precinct in Lake Bluff to close or whatever.
Right.
But then a couple of years ago, I think Robin... I'm blanking on her. The former clerk, Robin something. I'm sorry, Robin. But anyway, so she switched it to where they tabulate the vote by mails and early voting first in the night.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to wait for everyone to get those totals, and then if your precinct's closed, so you could have projected winners. When I ran, the polls closed at 7, I think. And by 7:10, there was enough totals to know that I had won that race.
Well, and now, I mean, if you follow your supporters and stuff, and you count the votes, which is kind of what I do, because I'm a data scientist. What I do, I love data, and what I do is I download it at 5 o'clock every day, and I tab everybody that is a follower or a supporter. I mean, technically, I might know who's going to win this thing 3 days before the election. Friday night
with that many early votes,
unless there's a huge April 1st day of voter turnout, right?
Yeah.
So, which you hope for. I mean, I really do hope that we have great turnout, but it looks like I just talked to Anthony Vega. I ran into him at the store the other day, and he was saying that, and maybe I shouldn't share this, I don't know, but he said there was 62,500 mail-in ballots sent out or something countywide. Less than 4,000 have been returned as of a couple of days ago. So yeah, that's less than 5%.
Jeez.
Now granted, we still got a little less than a week to go now, so maybe we'll get better turnout. But I really thought with the November results from the last election stuff that we'd have a much higher turnout, that people would be buzzing a little bit about that.
It didn't happen in 2020. It was like a 12 or 13% turnout after 2020 was a massive election.
It was
massive, and we thought there was going to be spillover controversy, spillover, effect to the municipal elections, and it didn't happen.
We Round Lake, the numbers Round Lake has, we vacillate between like the upper 3s to low 400s in voter turnout, generally without any contestation, right?
Really?
It's not a whole lot, right?
No. What's the population?
We are probably in the 18 to 19,000 range. We have 11,200 registered voters.
With only 300 to 400 ballots cast?
Now, granted, we haven't had a contested election in a long time, right? So that doesn't...
That matters.
So, but I thought, we have a contested election in Avon Township. We have a contested election in Grant Township. We have Round Lake that's contested. We have a contested election for Grays Lake, or not, for District 116 school district.
Yep.
All these other things. So I thought, well, these touch all the corners of the people. They'd come out in droves, right?
And the CLC board is too contested.
And the CLC has some not contested might be a little bit of a harsh, but there's more people running for positions, right? Which is great for the selection process. But I was hoping once or twice in the last 20 years, Round Lake hit over 1,000 votes.
Were they referendum years?
I didn't look into it that deep. I'm not sure if it was like an Avon was, that might have been when Terry Wilkie was being contested at the Avon Township. Plus the Round Lake was maybe contested. I'm not quite sure the demographics or what was going on there, but it was probably something like that, or the referendum. But even with the referendum for the library district for all of the Round Lakes last year was 36 million and the voter turnout was still kind of and that was going to pop people's property taxes by at least $200, maybe more dollars, depending on your EAV, right? So
Okay,
I'm really curious what more could be done to even get more people out to actually.
I don't know if there is.
Do that.
I mean, I'm a proponent of we should be able to vote online.
Yeah.
If I can transfer millions of dollars from bank to bank with my thumbprint or my eyeball, but there's a security issue with my vote. I mean, there's voter fraud, I guess, at some level all the time. There has been since the beginning of time. I don't think that it's going to add to it or detract from it. And I don't know. My opinion is voter fraud doesn't skew the elections. I mean, I'm not one of those people, but vote early voting, vote by mail, vote online. I think those are good things that maybe will bring more people out, because it seems like more and more people are just disenfranchised by the whole process,
Yeah.
So, I agree with you with early voting. I'm not sure I agree with the online. I just think the potential for fraud is too high.
It's possible. I mean, I can't say that it wouldn't be, but
we look at because I'm not even sure I trust the Bitcoin systems, the crypto systems. And these are different problems, but we've heard of people stealing millions in cryptocurrency. We've heard of people unable to withdraw millions from their cryptocurrency.
Yeah, they lose their password.
Right. And then the possibility of persuasion is also increased too, and that kind of goes back to some states ballot harvesting is not legal, some states it's fine, and I think the main argument against ballot harvesting is there's too much chance for undue influence in the voting process. Is door to door. Hey, I've got you. Oh, you say you're going to vote for me? Great. Here's your ballot. Let me watch. Otherwise, you're going to make your life miserable.
Right.
Right. And no one can say they haven't seen examples of that historically in Chicago politics.
Vote early, vote often, right?
And vote dead.
And vote dead.
The year my dad passed, it was in 2020. He says he cast his ballot right before he died, the day he died. And I really believe he really just wanted to cast that ballot. And I came from a long line of Republicans, okay? So my family going back to when they came over from Ireland, all Republicans. And my dad said, I need to cast that vote because if I die before the election, I know I'm showing up as a Democrat voter.
That's horrible.
Anyway, so, okay, let's get out of how the sausage is made on all of this stuff. Let's talk about you, Brian. You're already a trustee, so you're familiar with the village and what's going on. Let's talk. Tell us about yourself. I know we talked a little bit in the first hour for anyone just joining us, but we didn't get into some specifics. What do you do for a living?
So I support the sales effort. We call it enablement. That's the buzzword nowadays in the corporate world. But the sales enablement group, I have a group of about 12 sales guys that I work with in North America. So Mexico, the lower 48, and
the upper 51.
And 51. And we manufacture, sell, and maintain hospital logistics. I'm in the healthcare field, or in the healthcare realm.
Okay.
So if it moves in a hospital, we sell a product that generally moves that, whether it's rethermalization trays, we have AGVs, automated guided vehicles, and robotics.
Oh.
The big thing that I work with is what's called pneumatic tube. So if you're familiar with banks,
it's like the old vacuum tubes?
Yeah, absolutely. It's hundreds of year old technology that almost every hospital has.
Really?
So instead of going from point A to B like you do at the bank, there's a little bit more technology involved in. But what we do is we put points of service throughout the entire hospital: nurses' stations, ORs, ERs, blood banks, pharmacies, labs. So if you're coding on the OR table with open heart surgery and you need a pint of blood, instead of that nurse or that doctor or tech or somebody having to leave and walk to the blood bank to get blood for you, that could be a 30-minute walk round trip. They call the blood bank. They say, we need a pint of O positive. They put it in my tube system, and it's there in 45 seconds.
Wow.
And it's a life-saving patient outcome type of situation. It allows hospitals to refocus their full-time employees to more patient service-oriented stuff versus moving product around. And that goes for our IV bags, pharmaceuticals, lab specimens, things like that. So,
no kidneys though, right?
No body parts or anything. Most things can be moved in it, but related to blood and specimens. But there are some stuff like if you do a spinal tap for some type of thing, they're not going to put that in the tube system because you don't want to do that twice. So you're going to walk that kind of thing. But if they pull blood for a CVC or something, they throw it in the tube system. It's in the lab in 45 seconds, which helps the turnaround time for the doctors to assess that and make the diagnosis to the patient. Right.
Wow.
And then there's a lot of technology behind that. That's the beauty of it. The technology's old, but the software and that kind of stuff behind it, as far as chain of custody and retrieval and stuff like that. So you can link the bill to the billing and all that fun stuff, and also just chain of custody. For instance, if you're sending blood, there usually requires 3 or 4 signatures to do that to make sure that you're getting the right blood and stuff. And now everything in healthcare is barcoded. So now you'll see when they give you medication in the ER and they'll scan your wrist, and then they'll also scan the medication that's there, and that tells them if you're getting it too soon, you're getting it too late, if it's the wrong medication. You'd be surprised how many people are affected by the wrong medication in a hospital. I don't want to say killed, but
affected for sure.
Absolutely. It also, I think, helps, and I'm not exactly sure, but the barcoding helps with pharmacies. At some point, I think I read a statistic that 85% of medications that are sent out to the floors are returned to the pharmacy. But because they weren't barcoded in the past, they couldn't tell what lot they came from or how old they were, so they threw them away. So now they're individually blister packed with barcodes, so that when they send it back to the pharmacy, they can scan that and say, this Tylenol is X amount of days old, it's from this lot, we can restock that. And then
Huge savings.
Yes, it's a savings. Of course,
Yeah.
that's probably not passed on to the patients. So that's my
We were
profession.
going to charge you $48 for that Tylenol. We're going to make it $47.
47.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's my professional life, and
So basically, what you're saying is that I could not work in one of these hospitals because I allow 15 errors technically, right? Per show.
yeah, that's
You really can't allow errors.
we try to eliminate them. Our system really doesn't have errors other than mechanical failures, right? Like it doesn't go to the wrong place,
Sure.
unless the user did something wrong. But it's like a car, so there's mechanical systems. So if you get a flat tire, your car is down.
Right.
So we have mechanical problems or things that need to be maintained regularly. So there aren't mechanical problems, but from a chain of custody and point to point
It's perfect.
it should be almost 100% perfect. Yeah, there's no problems there.
Okay. Let's hear about your family.
So I've been married. I'm going to get this wrong. So, 30.
Dun, dun, dun.
We just had our 30-year anniversary. That was a big one. Yeah.
Congrats.
I met my wife almost 30 years ago. We have 3 kids: boy, girl, boy. They're 29, 25, and 22. They all came through the District 116 system and are all employed.
okay.
And my oldest is 29, working on his post-high school education, college stuff, and working for Endeavor Health while doing that. My daughter's actually back and forth between here and Mexico with her family. They spend some of it here, some of it there.
Lucky.
Yeah, she's going to nursing school. So when she can do it online, she does it online. When she has to be back in person for clinicals, they're here
Nice.
with her husband and kids. And then my youngest boy is 22. He moved out. And
Congrats.
Bought a place.
lives on his own, right? So he's right up you guys' alley.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And we're pretty excited for him. He's loving life, living his best life. He's about to try to buy I think he called it a Scat Pack. Is that the Dodge Charger? I don't know. It's some hot car they don't make anymore. And I'm like, you just bought a house. Relax.
Well, at least he didn't do it during the
Yeah,
process.
no kidding. No kidding.
So and he actually, full disclosure, he works for the Village of Round Lake. He's a public works
Oh.
employee. He actually, I was a trustee back in 2004 to 2009, and then got out of it and never really wanted to look back at that. Not because it was a bad experience. Life went on, and we got involved with other things. So he actually started out of high school working for the village in a seasonal capacity, and they offered him a full-time position, and I think he's well liked. He loves the work. He's one of those guys that just likes to be outside and do different things every day, learn a different trade, and be challenged that way. And
Boy, if that's not youngest kids for you, the youngest, I feel like they're just like go-getters. They're go. But they always got to be like enriched and doing new things, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think he's okay. We don't talk as much as we used to when he lived with me. So we, typical 22, 23-year-old. So he calls me when his taxes are due and he doesn't know how to do them, or so he needs to change out his air conditioner because it blew up. But other than that, we don't talk too much about anything else.
My son is just like me.
yeah, that's how we get along the best. But so then about 3 years ago, we had the Ski Hill project that popped up in Round Lake, which was a project to develop a ski hill. A developer came in and wanted to do that, and the community, from what I could see, did not really condone that. They didn't want that.
Yeah.
I actually have never met anybody that's outright told me they wanted it. Not one person. Now, as a project, it probably was pretty cool. It was the developer that I think everybody had a problem with.
Interesting.
And I felt we didn't want to hitch our wagon to that, but the community had this grassroots effort coming up to try to stop that and get their word out to the board that they wanted that to be not happening, but they were going about it the wrong way. They were hunting down our village administrators' home address,
Really?
stuff. Ooh. Yeah, it was.
That's not cool.
Yeah, it's not, and I don't think it's because they were being vindictive. I think they were just not understanding. They were worried, and they didn't know how to get their voices heard.
Yeah.
So I called them, and I said, "Listen, I got some insight here. Can I come to one of your guys' meetings and help you guys craft a plan of how to get your voices heard?" And so we did that, and that meant attending meetings, writing letters, and
going about it appropriately.
Data-driven, fact-driven, no personal attacks. Don't send stuff to a guy's house. And also I hired that village administrator. He was our treasurer when I was a trustee the first time, and he was a terrific guy. I said, he's not the villain you're making him out to be. He's just marching to the orders of the direction that he's given, and they're following protocol, right? Like it's got to go through the processes. That effort was successful. They stopped it and stuff. So a couple months after that, people approached us and said, "Hey, we want to run some people as trustees," and so I tried to help them find some people that we felt were qualified, could do it. And we needed 4, and we had 3, and we were hunting, and they said, "You should probably do it." And I said, "I know. My wife's probably going to divorce me if I say yes."
Oh boy!
And I went home and I said, they kind of floated this, and she's like, "Oh no." So I spent a couple more weeks helping them try to find people. We just couldn't find anybody that really resonated or rose to the level that wanted to do it. And finally, my wife said, "Well, it's there's 3 4-year terms, and then there's a 2-year unexpired term."
Right.
She's like, "If you take the 2-year, and then you're done." And I said, "Okay, that's a fair compromise."
So does she move out April 2nd?
Yeah. So that was 2 years ago. So now, fast forward 2 years from there to now, and the group wants to run a slate and find different groups, and we were trying to find people, and we couldn't really decide on the 5th person we were going to run with and who was going to run for mayor. There was 3 or 4 people in consideration, and my wife's like, "You probably need to do that." And I said, "Are you sure with this?" And she's like, "The kids are all out.
Yeah.
Our grandkids are back and forth. She's retired. I'm, and stuff." And she's like, "It's a different world now with the house, and you'd be good at it. You like doing that. You're a people person." So I threw my hat in the ring, and we had a big meeting with some of the players, and they decided they wanted me to be the head of the group. And so it was kind of a real organic grassroots upbringing, which was it's been a lot of fun. We've knocked on a lot of doors, talked to a lot of people, and that's what I like. I'm a talker, right? I mean, I could probably talk on this radio show all day long. But
what's that like, Dick?
Yeah,
I don't know.
No, we'll get a word in edgewise, right?
I know, the two of us.
But we've talked to a lot of people, and it's not about politics, really. I love just meeting people, and getting to know them. And I'm what do they call it? I think it's a maven in the tipping point, right? I put people together, right? People come to me, and I get calls all the time. They're like, "Hey, I just this morning, one of the guys that's trying to develop a business group called, and he's like, I need a place that can hold 10 people for a meeting with my company. Do you know any places?" So I listed off 3 or 4 places in the Round Lake area. Round Lake proper being the top 2 because I want them in our town. And he's like, "Man, I really appreciate that." And I just enjoy that kind of stuff. So, but I'm kind of a nerd. I read all the minutes, like the county board minutes. I read all the surrounding towns. I know what's going on in Round Lake Park, Round Lake Heights, Round Lake Beach.
Yeah.
Not that to be nosy, but I think just to be a good citizen, I want to know what's out there, right?
Be informed.
Yeah, what they're doing from a government
They're your neighbors.
standpoint and from community development. Like they're building a new pizza place in Round Lake Beach. They're doing the indoor entertainment center. That's the old
exciting.
I mean, cool stuff, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I want to bring that to Round Lake. That's what I want to do, have that transparency too, is tell people what we're doing. Because no matter how hard we try, the number one thing people talk to us about is a lot of it's transparency. And I don't think the village is a bad job at being transparent and trying to reach out to the constituents. But I don't think people really care until they care, right?
Yeah. 100%.
But we didn't have a...
they don't care until they are upset that they didn't know.
Yeah. Right. And then it's sometimes it's too late at that point, right? And so when we got elected 2 years ago, one of the things we pushed for was a social media presence. The village didn't have a Facebook page, Instagram, all that stuff. So I think we're on, I don't know all of them, but I think we're definitely on Facebook. I think we have Instagram, and then they're on Nextdoor. So we're trying to reach those other audiences, right? Our website got updated and things like that. So we just had a big water bill that's coming up on May 1st. We're going to have a pretty major increase. One of the things when we passed that increase was that there needed to be an educational component to that, right? We can't just drop this on May 1st and not warn people. So we asked the staff, and they did, put things into the water billing. And since January 1st, we have a dedicated page on our website to kind of have a calculator so people can understand what that's going to impact them on a monthly basis, stuff like that. Now, the numbers I'm hearing is like we only get like 14. We've only hit like 14% of the water bill customers, which is that or have opened it or read about it.
Sure.
Which
I don't look at anything that comes in my water bill.
neither do.
Yeah,
So so at least 14% of the people know what's going on. The other
You read the
85,
newsletter?
yeah,
I do.
but we're ready for the 85 to come with pitchforks and fryers, right?
Yeah.
And they should. It's a tough nut to crunch, but those are the things that we were running on: transparency, economic development, and just being nice to your neighbors a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you going to be able to stick around for the next half hour?
Sure can.
Awesome. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr will return in just a few moments after these important messages. Don't touch that dial.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
It's the best station on the radio. It's time for the weather.
This weather update is brought to you by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company. It's shaping up to be a partly sunny afternoon with a bit of a north-northwest breeze at 10 miles per hour. As we drift into the evening, a low of 38 comes hand in hand with mostly cloudy skies and a subtle south-southwest breeze, occasionally peaking with a 15-mile-per-hour gust. And for Thursday, keep an eye out for a few possible rain sprinkles before 1 p.m. Mostly cloudy skies take over the spotlight as we hit a high near 53, with winds gently gusting up to 20 miles per hour.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
Hello, it's time for Unlocking This Day in History. Brought to you by Harder and Schottland Law Firm in Round Lake Beach. Let's take a quick trip back in time to what happened. Today in history, March 26, 1979, Egypt and Israel shook hands and said, "Let's be friends." That's right. This was the day when Egyptian President Anwar Sadat and Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin signed the historic peace treaty famously brokered by President Jimmy Carter. It marked the first time an Arab nation officially recognized Israel. So cue the fireworks and party horns. Fast forward to March 26, 1997, when the world took a big step into outer space cyber communication as 35 nations signed the International Space Station Agreement. This pact promised to work together and build the most epic orbiting laboratory the galaxy had ever seen. Just imagine all the space selfies you'd capture in that bad boy. And let's not forget March 26, 2000, when Vladimir Putin won the presidency in Russia. Known for defending bears, shirtless fishing, and mastering the art of political intrigue, he swapped seats from prime minister to president, marking the start of a new chapter in Russian history. Who knew leaders could have such versatile hobbies? Well, that's all for now, folks. Thanks for tuning in to this groovy ride through history. We will catch you next time.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Hello, it's time for Unlocking This Day in History. Brought to you by Harder and Schottland Law Firm in Round Lake Beach. Let's take a quick trip back in time to what happened. Today in history, March 26, 1979, Egypt and Israel shook hands and said, "Let's be friends." That's right. This was the day when Egyptian President Anwar Sadat and Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin signed the historic peace treaty famously brokered by President Jimmy Carter. It marked the first time an Arab nation officially recognized Israel. So cue the fireworks and party horns. Fast forward to March 26, 1997, when the world took a big step into outer space cyber communication as 35 nations signed the International Space Station Agreement. This pact promised to work together and build the most epic orbiting laboratory the galaxy had ever seen. Just imagine all the space selfies you'd capture in that bad boy. And let's not forget March 26, 2000, when Vladimir Putin won the presidency in Russia. Known for defending bears, shirtless fishing, and mastering the art of political intrigue, he swapped seats from prime minister to president, marking the start of a new chapter in Russian history. Who knew leaders could have such versatile hobbies? Well, that's all for now, folks. Thanks for tuning in to this groovy ride through history. We will catch you next time.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Welcome back to Weird But True in Lake County, where the strange and surprising is just around the corner. Today, we've got a big development project making waves in Cook County. Plans for a new residential complex in downtown Chicago are moving forward, promising to revitalize a once-neglected area. This project aims to bring 200 new units to the market by the end of 2024, integrating modern architecture with eco-friendly features. Meanwhile, in Lake County, a significant growth in the suburban real estate market is noted. Per a story in the Daily Herald, sales have surged in the past quarter, with family-sized homes being snapped up quickly. This increased demand is attributed to remote working trends and families seeking more space outside of the urban center. Real estate agents in the area are advising potential buyers to act swiftly due to limited inventory. Over in McHenry County, the real estate market sees a different kind of transformation. According to a report from Northwest Herald, several farms are being acquired by developers planning mixed-use projects. These will blend residential spaces with retail and dining options, offering a modern community feel. This development is seen as a step to cater to the diverse demands of new residents moving from the city to the suburbs. On the broader national front, the Wall Street Journal has detailed a trend affecting the luxury real estate market. High-end properties across the United States are seeing a slowdown in sales as interest rates rise. This has led to longer listing times and more flexible pricing strategies from sellers. Experts say buyers are hesitant, waiting to see where the market stabilizes before making such large...
Welcome back to Unlocking Lake County with your host, Dick Barr.
Welcome back to the final half hour of Unlocking Lake County. I'm your host, Dick Barr, here with my beautiful co-host, Christin Kaufman.
Hello, everyone.
And our special guest in the studio, so gracious to stay for the remainder, Brian Brubaker.
Hi, everybody.
Okay, so quick reminder. So Election Day is next Tuesday. And what time do the polls open? What time do they close?
You know, I think it depends on the extended hours and stuff, but they close, I think everybody closes at 7 on Tuesday, April 1st.
At 7.
So get in there early, and you can also vote anywhere within the county that's an open polling place. So if you go on the county website, I think they actually have like tickers that show you the wait times at the polling places right now, too. So you can go on.
Is that right?
Yeah. I think they started that last year, and I don't know how user-friendly it is, but I think that's kind of neat. They used to have those for the ERs, right, for the hospitals when the wait times were so long. During COVID, you'd go to some of these towns, and they have billboards that said 38-minute wait, at this hospital. So you might drive an extra 45 minutes to get there, but you knew you were going to get seen faster. So, check out the the Lake County Elections website and find your polling
Lake County
places.
Clerk and the Voter Power. So if
Voter Power, yes.
Vote. So if you Google Lake County Clerk, or maybe Illinois too, Lake County Illinois Clerk Voter Power, it takes you to a site where you can punch your name and address in. It'll tell you who's on your ballot, what your ballot looks like. It'll tell you your polling location, all kinds of great information there.
Yeah, and even if you don't want to put in your address, you can look at all the polling locations, pick the closest one or the one that's most convenient for your day. But
you won't see your ballot if you don't.
But you won't see your ballot, right? Unless you put your name and address in.
Yeah, I recommend people do that because I think it's good for them to know how many people show up to the polling location, get their ballot, see it for the first time. They have no idea.
Yeah.
What are these names? What do they mean? Who are they? They know nothing.
Or they forget to turn it over.
That's a big one.
Actually, I saw somebody post, I think it was Judy Martini, posted something that they were getting a lot of ballots returned back because people weren't signing the mail-in ballot envelope on the back, so that you just got to follow the instructions and make sure you do everything right. But,
the clerk has a chase period. I don't know how long that is, but they have so many days to chase people who have submitted ballots and haven't signed it. Or even if the signatures don't match, they'll chase.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know about the signatures. Mine's pretty rough. I don't know if I've ever signed anything the same twice. I got terrible penmanship.
When they the last time I voted, it was on the signature verification was on a tablet, so you signed a tablet.
Oh.
And without thinking, I just did my my grocery store checkout line signature. The blah blah. It's not even close. And I was a little upset that they accepted it.
Oh, did they? See, my son, they actually made him redo his.
Did they?
One year, he told me, I wasn't there, but he said that he had signed it, but they had to re-verify it for him because it was a little different enough.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it's because maybe it's very possible the election judge probably knew me.
Possibly.
So.
Or they just don't look at them all. I mean,
right.
they're running through things, right?
When you're a big mouth, you're known by a lot of people you don't know.
You mean you have some detractors and detractors?
Right. So let's talk about something very interesting to me. It's going to cut right through your community. Downtown Round Lake, reconfiguration, kind of a reshift of Cedar Lake Road. It's got obviously some traffic flow improvements, but what's that going to mean to downtown Round Lake, and what's your vision for downtown Round Lake, and what's your vision for the shift of the road?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, there's a lot going on there. I mean, it's been talked about for decades, right? And I believe now it's 100% funded, which was the problem, right? It was always partially funded and this and that, but I think they got the last bit of money they needed. Okay. So it's 100% funded, and it's pretty much designed, which it's going to, right now, if you're familiar with the downtown Round Lake, Cedar Lake Road kind of bends around and snakes through the downtown and continues on north up into Round Lake Beach. And what this is going to do is, instead of making a hard turn towards the east and then back north, it's going to just continue straight on. So Cedar Lake Road will pass to the west side of the Village Hall and then curve back in before it gets to McGee School. Long run, I think it's great for the county. I think it's great for the community. It's going to help traffic flow. Short term, a lot of disruption to our downtown and our community construction. But I guess we're from Chicago, so we're used to that, right? But I'm more concerned about is the diversion of traffic, right? Like during the construction and even after the construction, people are going to have a path of least resistance, right?
Right.
So they're going to not maybe go through the downtown. So the board, myself included, is putting a lot of attention on that with our downtown development plan that we've been working on it's been updated over the last 20 years, but it's really been taking a focus for the last several years. And we just had a group forum on that to come up with kind of what our vision was. We can't say we want all pink buildings and they need to be 2.5 stories high, but we can suggest things we want, multiple dwelling, things like that. So the board had sat down for a day and came up with this through a consultant. They put together a downtown development plan, and we're just looking to entertain development for that and look into things. And some of those things may actually come from the village. We may have to pull that trigger ourselves, fund something. Maybe we have to build the first building or help finance the first building. I'm not saying we will, but we might have to, because then that sets the tone for the future, right? But there's concern that the traffic will be diverted around the town a little bit, which would impact those businesses. And those are, a pretty strong retail component to us as far as sales tax goes. Not to mention they're a community. We want to keep them around, right?
They're all, as far as I know, they're all local business owners, right?
Yeah. Well, pretty close. I mean, there's Esteban who owns. He's the biggest landowner in the downtown.
Oh, yeah?
He pretty much owns about 90% of the downtown.
Wow. Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I mean,
but he leases it out to
other businesses. Right, but he owns La Luz, and his son-in-law owns Twisted Burger.
Yeah, he bought Cedar Cafe.
He bought Cedar Cafe
not too long ago.
That's going to be a Ecuadorian, is it, or
really
something like that? I'm not. It's going to be a little different. I mean, it's going to have the Hispanic flair, but it's a different.
Oh, that's cool.
Thing, nice. Yeah. So I'm kind of excited for that. But yeah, those business owners and I've walked that downtown for 30 years, and I've really done it for for 30 years. But the last 2 years, I've walked in and out of all those businesses, and they all know who I am. And
the bakery knows who I am.
Yeah, and they're concerned with us with that, right? And we have to lend an ear for that. And so that's a big thing. But I think overall, in the long run, it's going to be good for the entire community and Round Lake especially. It's good. We're going to have a lot of heartburn during it, and we're going to just have to be creative on how to market that right. The nice part with that too is once that's completed, Round Lake owns a lot of that property that's going to end up being really nice commercial corners
on the new
new road. We own I forgot the number of acreage, but we're going to own like 4 major corners.
Oh, wow.
That we can now control the destiny of the town, right? Whether, when developers come to us, we control the zoning, the annexations and things like that. So we're in a good spot there. But
so mostly gaming cafes on every corner?
Right.
I'm just kidding.
All needs one more slot machine.
Yeah.
I always joke with people that when your Chinese restaurant has more slot machines than tables, you got a problem. You know, not that they don't deserve them, but it's kind of like, boy, I mean. Even gas stations have them, and I just don't know. Great if you make money and they pay tax, perfect.
Yeah.
I just don't know if I go to the local gas station to gamble.
Right.
It just seems weird to me.
Yeah, it's not the same romantic feel of sitting in a Las Vegas casino.
Yeah, with the card girl and the free drinks and all that. But so the downtown, we have a development plan. The board's worked on that with staff. I think we got a really good, solid plan right now, and we just have to pull the trigger with that. And the county, it's a county project, so we don't we don't have a whole lot of control over it other than participating.
Are they working? Is the state doing any of it other than funding?
I don't think so.
Funds?
I think it's strictly county. Yeah.
Okay.
And the county's been doing a bang-up job, too. I know that the people that are there's going to be some businesses that are going to be displaced. Their buildings are going to have to go away. And the county's trying to, they're going to be compensated for that. But it's a weird type of business. They need to know how much money they're going to be compensated so they can figure out where they're going to move.
Sure.
But the county needs to wait until the engineering's done to figure out what they're going to compensate them. Before they move, and so everyone's like staring at each other, trying to figure out what's the cost. What are you going to give them? What are they going to get?
Yeah.
So it's hard, and they have a lot of angst over that. The business owners do, and I understand that. So, but I try to be soft with the county. I think the county's doing the best they can. But the whole process is flawed, so it's difficult. And as a village, we need to help them too. Like we have some open land in our downtown that's owned by certain people. Maybe we help them decide to develop that property because they've got 5 or 6 captive possible tenants that would, you build it, they will come kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think we just need to market that better in our town and help the retail development.
Now, my personal opinion, not that matters, is yes, I think those businesses are going to lose the traffic flow, but I don't stop because getting in and out of those parking spots is tough. And I'll be honest, the worst intersection, in my opinion, is the intersection of Railroad and Cedar Lake.
I would agree, and everybody avoids it, right? Unless you have to go down there. I mean, but that's the good part with the businesses is they're destination businesses, right?
Yeah.
They don't require necessarily the traffic.
The pass-through.
Right.
Yeah.
People aren't driving by and going, "Hey, I'm going to stop in here." They're going, "I'm going there because I need that service."
Yeah.
So that's the good thing, right? That they have a strong client base and that they're destination type of businesses to some extent. I'm sure they do get some people that just drive by and stop, to frequent their restaurant or whatever service they're selling. But I think most of it's that people know they're there. But we just have to try to help that the impact of that construction that's going to make it harder to get to them a little bit. And that's the other thing we do is that we have the facade improvement grants that we're putting out at the village to help kind of improve the town look and
that will continue even with the thorough pass.
Actually, we just it's in the 2026 budget again. We actually are upping it a little bit. It hasn't had great participation right now.
Sure. Is it strict requirements?
Not really. It's anything that happens to be on the front facade of your building other than a sign. So if they want to paint, tuck point, brick, change the windows, doors, it's a 50-50 participation. So we've had a couple businesses do it. The problem is, I think, is that right now because the road realignment isn't really well known yet, they're not sure. Some of them don't know if the front of their building is going to be the back of their building. Right? So why would you fix the back if it's going to turn into the front, right? So there's that. And I think some of them also may just not have the capital funds to do it for their part of the participation. And
now this has to go through the building owner, I'm assuming. It's not the
That's the other
leasing
thing, right? So again, we have one guy that owns a lot of property and he's leasing those buildings out to people, but it's his buildings. Right? So it's either got to, some buildings or leasees will do it, on their own dime, but really it's not their investment then after it's done. So so it has to be them. And so that would be a big expense for him because he owns a lot of the property, right? So, but I don't think he's not, he's owns the Twisted Burger building, the old bank building. Yeah.
Okay.
And so he did all that work to it. And then the building across the street that used to be techie, he did that in the same motif, you know, brick and all that. Looks amazing. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been into the sitting area behind Twisted Burger, but they have that whole mural on the back wall of the building.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yes, that's beautiful.
Yeah, he really, him and the guy that owns the Twisted Burger, they really did a bang up job of both of those buildings, and I'm super proud of them. So hopefully that continues, right? Like, and I think it will. So we're, trying to just keep the downtown beautified a little bit and prepare for this realignment, and then, minimize the impact to our retail development down there, our existing retail down there, and then hopefully build on that. But we have to forge forward. But what did I say earlier? Forge forward, but preserve the past, right? Everyone's excited about a brand new sparkly downtown possibly, but I want it to meld nicely with the old town too. They have to be part of that process, 100%.
Yeah, because we're running out of time, Christin is our on-staff community, just loves everything about community involvement, volunteerism, public participation. So, Christin, I know you've got some questions.
Okay, so I guess first and foremost, what would be the one takeaway message that you would want your potential undecided voters who are listening right now to just know about you and what you stand for?
Good question. I stand for the people, the transparency. I want to listen to everybody. One of the things that I feel very strongly about is when we were going through the ski hill project, I didn't feel that the board or the mayor listened to the people. They had and a lot of people were from outside of Round Lake. They were in the peripherals. They were our neighbors, and that's fair. But I felt like we told them that the message was, "You're not a Round Lake taxpayer, so who cares?" Well, we have to be nicer to our. They may not be Round Lake taxpayers, but they're our neighbors, and they're impacted by our decisions, and we have to be sympathetic to that. They can't drive what we want to do, but they should have a seat at the table and a voice, and we should listen to that. We should also just listen to our residents. Our residents came out in droves saying that they did not want that project, but I didn't feel that certain members of our board listened to that. And whether you feel it's great for the village or not, you have to listen to the people that put you into office. And the people spoke. 2 of them aren't there now for that reason, because the people decided that they weren't listening to their needs and their concerns, and they voted a certain way because of their beliefs, but they didn't represent the voting populace, right? And that, at the end of the day, Brian Brubaker will make decisions that are based upon the Round Lake as a whole. It may not be good for the Brubaker household, but it's going to have to be good for Round Lake, right?
And transparently.
And transparently, too. I think that we're going to... And I think the village does do that. I don't want to imply that the village isn't transparent or they do things in the dark stuff. I think they go out of their way to try to do that. We had kind of talked about this offline, as you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So, but we still need to try to find other avenues to get the words out to people that what's going on in their town and how they can participate, and continue to be proactive with that, even if the participation isn't what we think it is or should be.
Do you have any sort of concept of plans for any kind of like community events for Round Lake?
Yeah, so these are things. One of the things that Trustee Schottland and I championed 2 years ago when she was reelected and I was elected was the cookie crawl.
Is that Bruce's wife?
Yes, it is.
Oh,
yes. So she championed. It was her idea. I'm not going to take any credit, but she championed a cookie crawl.
Yeah.
We do with our Christmas tree lighting ceremony, and it wasn't getting a whole lot of traction prior to that. So I helped her champion that, and her and I worked really hard to put that off the first year. It was a tremendous success.
Yeah,
so much so
I heard a lot about it.
that we did it again the next year, last year, and we're going to do it again this year. And it seems to grow. It seems to get we get a little bit better at it each time.
Yeah.
So those are things that we want to bring a type of artisan market or farmers market to the village. Maybe not every week because they're all over the place and there's a lot of competition. But why can't we have something like that? Maybe a food truck day, like every one Friday out of a month in the nicer months or something. We have some type of food truck. You've got the space for it for sure. We have space, right? And it helps bring the downtown. The downtown development plan has a lot of open space and more pedestrian-friendly stuff, so we want to try to capitalize on that and bring stuff to that. So there's those kind of things. One of the things I'd like to do when I become mayor, and I talk to the trustees that want to do it maybe too, is we do like a ride with the mayor, a ride with the trustees. Like, maybe Saturday at 7 o'clock if anybody's crazy enough to sign up and wants to just drive the boundaries of the town and just talk to us. And because a lot of people don't know where we start, where we begin. Sure. I mean, we go all the way down to Route 60, south of Route 60.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah, they have no idea. I mean, I'll be honest. I've walked these neighborhoods the last 6 months. I didn't know we went down that far. I did, but I didn't really realize
like the Lakewood Grove neighborhood. I know, it's surprising that that's still around Lakewood.
So I thought that'd be kind of fun. Is like, one Saturday a month you drive around with the trustee. You can bend their ear and complain about what you want to complain about. Give us accolades, what you want to give us accolades about. We can show you, give you some history of what the town's about. This street came here, this business is there, and show you what it's all about. And also be, listen to the community.
Yeah.
Give them an ear to bend.
Very cool. Anything else, Chris?
Okay, so you talked about transparency, wanting to be like your number one platform that you're talking about. And we talked about wanting to do some community events, food trucks potentially. Honestly, we're coming up to our last minute or so. Any last words you wanted everyone to hear from you?
One of the other pillars is just economic development. Yeah. The last major economic development we had was the CVS that was built over 20 years ago.
It's been there a while.
And they're by far probably one of our biggest retail sales tax contributors. Since that, we've gotten, there's been other smaller businesses and things that have come into our industrial park. But at the end of the day, the next biggest thing we did in 20 years was a Dunkin' Donuts.
I was just about to say, you've got the Dunkin' Donuts there now.
And no harm to them. Great guy. Yeah. I've talked to him. Yeah. But that's all we've got. We really need to market ourselves better and work on focusing on retail development because we don't control our tax rate. The county does. Yeah. So if the county comes to us and tells us, you have $10 million to run your village this year, and we have $11 million in expenses. We have to figure out where to lose the other $1 million, and that comes into services. So the only thing we can control is retail sales tax. Yep. And that will help make that budget work.
Great. Russ, thank you so much for joining us. This was a great couple hours. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry, Brian. I'm so sorry.
That's all right. I didn't even read.
Brian Brubaker, thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure having you. Feel free. Anytime you guys want to come in and for, even after the election, come on in, and then we'd love to have you on, talk more about the town. Yeah. It's great. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll be back next week with Ralph Loprior from the Butterfly Effect of Maddox Loprior Foundation, and after that we're going to start bringing in live music artists who kind of sing live on the air. So thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see ya. Enjoy the rest of your spring break, and we'll see you next week.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the heart of our community, exploring the ins and outs of real estate and meeting the people who make Lake County truly remarkable. Remember, every property has a story, and every community member holds a key to unlocking our county's full potential. Don't miss out on discovering more hidden gems and expert insights. Make sure to tune in every Wednesday at 12 noon for another episode of Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr. Until then, keep exploring, keep dreaming, and WRLR 98.3 FM.